tigers that took a bus over, and gorilla acrobats, the smartest orangutan, and a show by bears, a monkey that knows obscene gestures, and much more. In this episode, I'll show you the most incredible and funny zoo and safari moments, which will definitely surprise you. Let's go! Safari and other wildlife trips are not only fun, but sometimes creepy, especially if you pass near tigers like these tourists did. One of the striped cats was very interested in the guests and decided to look at them up close. Apparently, it said hello to everyone. And here a tiger got interested in the standing bus and also tried to get inside, but the iron mesh saved the tourist from contact with a predator. Would you like to experience the same thrill? Let me know in the comments. Primates are the creatures that I find most surprising in zoos, and this gorilla was no exception. From the very beginning, you can see that the gorilla is tired. It's tired of the close attention of the visitors. It's tired of the loud noise and hundreds of people's eyes. The primate decided to convey this to the visitors so that they would understand everything, and chose such a gesture. It turned out to be very accessible and understandable. I wonder where the gorilla learned such a gesture. But don't think the gorillas are mean and rude. They can be very sweet. Like this female, for example, that has recently become a mother. It holds the baby in its hands, snacks on grass, and is doting on the baby. It's also gently carrying it around the enclosure, trying to make sure the baby doesn't wake up. And rightly so. The baby needs to sleep a lot and gain strength to become as powerful as its mother. Gorillas are a lot like humans, which is not surprising. They're primates too, and their genome is almost 99% the same as ours, so they have almost the same behavior as we do. And I'm not talking about caring for babies. This gorilla, for example, has decided to become a tresseur and an acrobat like thrill-seeking humans. The handstand's really cool, and the somersaults are awesome. What a talented gorilla we've just seen, haven't we? In general, zoos reveal a lot of talents among animals. Some are more interested in art than sport, like this rhino. The zoo staff is teaching it to paint. This giant can't hold a brush, so they have to smear paint directly on it. That's what the rhinoceros drew in the end. Someone will say that this is some kind of nonsense and smudge. Someone will say that the rhino is just a novice artist and its best paintings are still further in its life. And I'll say that its paintings are similar to modern art. In many museums, you can find something like this, so the rhino's painting is not worse than museums' ones. Cats are very curious creatures, and it doesn't matter at all whether it's a domestic cat or the king of the jungle. Here's a girl standing near a lion enclosure. It has some problems with its leg, so it has to move with the help of a scooter, and the lion is very interested in this device. The predator started trying to take the scooter away, unsuccessfully scratching the glass with its paws. It looks unusual and funny. If it were possible to do so, if I were this girl, I would give the scooter to the lion after recovery. The animal liked it very much. There are plenty of curious cats in the wild, too. Cheetahs are one of them. Not only do they like to chase their prey in Africa at insane speeds, they also like to climb on people's cars on safari. From the outside, it may look creepy, but in fact, cheetahs are not dangerous for us. They don't attack people, but they occupy cars. Sometimes tourists have to wait for a long time before a fast spotted cat gets tired of sitting on the roof or the hood. Even fails don't stop cheetahs. For example, this predator accidentally stumbled and slipped off the open roof, but still managed to climb back and sat down as if nothing had happened. Would you like to be in the place of these tourists and get to know cheetahs better? Let me know in the comments. But it's not only cheetahs that do this sort of thing. Sometimes lions can also come to tourists and climb on their car. For example, they can climb on the hood, as the lioness in this video did. It's not so much fun with these predators. They attack people, so tourists may feel uncomfortable when a lion jumps on their car. But in this case, there was nothing terrible. The curious lioness just lay on the hood, warmed up from the running engine, and then went about its business. You've probably all heard of petting zoos, where you can interact with animals, feed them, and pet them. And what about semi-petting zoos? There really aren't any, but there is this unusual enclosure. There are holes in the glass for the otter's limbs, and everyone can say hello to them and play with them a little bit. I think it's a great idea. Remember that at the beginning of this episode I talked about how smart gorillas are. There are other intelligent primates, such as orangutans. To one of them, the girl draws a heart on the fog glass, and the primate watches carefully, and not just because it liked it, it wants to be able to do the same. And look, it very quickly understood the principle. It also breathes onto the glass and then tries to draw a heart there. So far it's not very good at it, but this is just the beginning. I'm sure that after a few more attempts, it'll succeed. Orangutans are generally smart creatures, and the next video again proves it. This primate decided to inspect the visitor's bag. The girl takes out items one by one, and the orangutan, as if it says, "Not that one, go on, show me the next one." When the turn comes to some goodies, the animal immediately calls the girl to follow it. The primate shows that the girl needs to go behind the wall to give the treats to it through the fence. But it's impossible to do this. The passage is closed. Soon the smart creature realizes this, so it tries to solve the problem on its own. It grabs a branch, climbs up, and pushes the branch somewhere under the glass. Probably it wanted the girl to throw the goodies on the branch, and the primate would have dragged them to it. This didn't happen, but you should definitely hit the like button for such ingenious and intelligence by the orangutan. At the zoo, as in the wild, animals sometimes get into trouble. This tortoise had a typical tortoise problem. The reptile rolled over on its shell, and everyone knows that it's almost impossible for tortoises to roll back over on their own. One of the concerned visitors could not just look at it and didn't wait for the zoo staff but climbed the fence and turned the tortoise over with a branch. That's a very good and kind act. And this girl is helping the giraffe. Now, there's no need to turn anyone over, the girl's just feeding the tall animal. And she does it in an unusual way. But why can't she feed a giraffe by her hand in a normal way? Scientists believe that giraffes do not really like it when hands are reached out towards them. In nature, they do not communicate with the help of limbs, but understand each other by facial expressions. They're much more accustomed to contact with faces, so the girl fed the giraffe so that it was comfortable for it. People helping animals at the zoo are great, of course, but the inhabitants of the enclosures can also help each other. For example, in this case, we see something similar with a magpie and a capybara. The bird decided to spruce up its rodent friend and do its fur so that it would be the most handsome creature at the zoo. Okay, actually it's not like that. This magpie isn't a barber or a stylist at all, but the animals did take care of each other without even realizing it. The capybara gave the magpie some material to build its nest, and the bird in turn scratched the capybara properly, and probably the capybara got rid of some parasites and fleas. Judging by the blissful look on the rodent's face, it was just that. But not all animals at the zoo have such kind and caring relationships. For example, giraffes and an ostrich somehow ended up in the same enclosure. The ostrich thought it was the main one on the territory and started pestering one of the giraffes. The animal, as befits giraffes, behaved calmly and tried not to get involved in the conflict. But even such calm animals as giraffes sometimes run out of patience. The giant taught the insolent animal a lesson by pushing it away. From the outside, it seems that it made almost no effort, but even so, the ostrich flew off a couple meters. Can you imagine how much strength is hidden in the legs of these tall animals? When people on safari filmed this hippo, they were hoping to see it show its power or something. But all they got was a big yawn from the herbivore. Hit the like button if you also yawned after the hippo. As for me, this is the creepiest yawn among all animals in the world, considering how wide a hippo can open its mouth. Panda cubs can be just as naughty as our kids, and panda moms sometimes have to make them eat too. Here's what it looks like. The baby needed to eat, but it was refusing, so the panda pulled it to its breast by its ear. Yes, from the outside, it may seem a bit harsh, but it's actually okay. The mother did everything carefully, and at the end, even began to sniff the cub and rub itself against it, which is a clear sign of love. It's good to be a panda at a zoo and have plenty of food and constant love from your congeners and the public. But these panda relatives have to do it all on their own, getting love and recognition and begging for food. These bears stand on their hind legs for a reason. They know that people like it and that they'll get tasty treats for it. One bear ate quickly. but the other bear started following the bus, asking for more food. That was quite a show those bears put on, wasn't it? Well, since we're on the subject, I'd like to finish with another show. The biggest star of the enclosure is this chimpanzee and his band of congeners. Just watch a little bit. Imagine you're walking through a zoo, approaching an enclosure with tigers, and suddenly your hat falls into the territory of a predator. What would you do? Surely you'd just let it go and buy yourself a new hat. But the woman in this video doesn't think like that. She did the crazy thing, jumping into the tiger's enclosure to get her hat. There was a thin wire separating the woman from the tiger, but the predator could very well get to the visitor. You can see how it rushes around, doesn't let the woman out of its sight, and tries to attack her. She was very lucky to remain unharmed, but I wouldn't advise anyone to repeat her act. And here are the relatives of the striped zoo inhabitant. Today they have a little crab. For the lions, the crab is like seeds for us. The big cat will devour the arthropod and won't even notice it. The crab even stands up and tries to seem formidable to defend itself, but surprisingly the lions are not interested in the crab. To be more precise, they're not interested in it as food. As befits cats, the lions curiously examine the baby. It feels like they haven't seen such creatures before. In general, it looks nice and unusual. Hyenas and African wild dogs do not get along very well with each other. See for yourself what kind of confrontations they have. Everyone wants to be the best savanna predator. But sometimes unbelievable things happen. For example, in this video, we see how African wild dogs made friends with hyenas. They've accepted them as part of the pack and are not going to hunt them at all. The dogs lie peacefully with the hyenas and just enjoy life. I wonder for what reason such an alliance could become a reality. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think are the most photogenic animals? In my opinion, apes have no equal in this regard. At least this cool model has no equal. Look at this primate taking pictures with a girl. It's sitting, it's standing on the swing, it's hugging the girl, and here it is, stretching out its leg and smiling broadly. Probably it's its signature pose for the photo. At the end of the photo shoot, the primate even kissed the girl's hand and pecked her on the cheek. To me, it's an amazing moment. But not all monkeys like to be photographed. For example, Barbary macaques can't stand cameras. Karima Nabi was convinced of this from her own experience. There's no video, but the photos make it clear. Karima approached the macaque, took a quick photo with it, and here the monkey rushed at it. The girl had to run away from such an angry model. Not only criminals resist the police, but also dogs. Although in this case, you can call them criminals too. Look at how this tailed gang raided a police car. The dogs attacked it for no reason and just started tearing the bumper to shreds. A bulldog named Winston started the whole thing. He did the main job, spoiling the car. But the other dogs also did their part. It's unbelievable how much damage dogs can do to property. They should have been sentenced for that, and the judge passed the sentence. Winston was sentenced to re-education at the Noble Dog School and awarded a tag, meaning he was potentially dangerous. The other dogs were apparently forgiven for the first time. A diver was swimming peacefully in the ocean near Hawaii when he suddenly realized that this swim might be his last. A tiger shark, an extremely dangerous predator that poses a great threat to humans, appeared right next to him. The shark headed straight for the diver, but luckily turned around before reaching him. It circled for a while and went on its way. Unbelievable luck for the diver. By the way, don't think that the sharks are found only at a great depth. You can run into the creepy creatures even in places where the water is literally waist deep or even knee deep. This footage, taken in the waters of French Polynesia, is a great example. A diver was filming underwater views and fish when suddenly several sharks got into the camera lens. They swam just meters from the diver, but luckily they didn't hurt him. If the doorbell rings, always look through the peephole, or at least ask who's there. After all, the guest might be a bear. See for yourself how the bear visited an American family. First, the bear scattered decorative toys at the front door and even chewed them. Then it sniffed the branch of the Christmas tree and rang the doorbell with its nose. But don't worry, no one came out of the house and the bear didn't eat anyone. The owner saw the predator through the camera's doorbell and told it to get out. As you can see, the bear obeyed. Animals often run onto the pitch during various sports matches. It can be a cat, a dog, a bird, or anything else. But in Australia, a kangaroo can run onto the pitch. That's exactly what happened during the rugby match you're watching. The marsupial promptly caused applause from spectators and players, but didn't interfere much. The kangaroo jumped across the pitch with lightning speed and soon disappeared. But encounters with kangaroos in Australia don't always end so peacefully. See for yourself. The cameraman is flying a paraglider and should have landed by now. While looking for a safe place to land, the athlete found an old tracking station, calculated his trajectory, and descended. But as it turned out, he was in the wrong area. He was immediately met by local kangaroos. One of them even attacked the cameraman, and he had to rise into the air again. At least the kangaroos didn't get too brutal and soon left the cameraman alone. Moose in Alaska are about the same phenomenon as kangaroos in Australia. Locals haven't been surprised by them for a long time, and it's almost as if they aren't feared, but they should. Look how this moose ran toward the man, trying to take him down. But the faithful dog prevented the hoofed animal from doing so. Despite its small size, the dog barked boldly and desperately at the brazen moose. The moose was about to trample it, but the dog ran away in time and then ran inside the house with its owner. I wonder how long they were afraid to go outside. Do you still remember the bear that rang the doorbell? Well, I'd like to tell you that these animals aren't afraid of anything at all anymore. For example, these got into someone's family pool, scaring and surprising them. What's important, the house wasn't theirs, they were renting it. Luckily, the bears didn't break anything or ruin the pool, but only raised everyone's spirits and gave them cool footage. In this footage, caught on a security camera, we can see a girl calmly going about her business. Passing by the car, she wants to close the door, but she can't. Someone pushes the door back, and it soon becomes clear who. The bear is in action again. The bear jumped out and scared the girl to death. She threw the apples and ran screaming into the house. The bear stayed on the street, lazily scratched itself, and went to look for apples. Apparently, it didn't find what it was looking for in the car. By the way, that's how it got there in the first place. We know many stories of dogs becoming friends with cats, large predators, cows, and various other animals. But what do you think of such an alliance? It's incredible, isn't it? A dog and a sloth is something new. You can see how much the sloth loves the dog. It gently strokes it with its paw, trying not to pierce it with its long claws, and looks at it lovingly. It does poke the dog in the face with its claws a couple of times, though, but that was purely out of love. How could such a sweet and slow creature harm anyone? Not only can dogs be friends with sloths, they're capable of many other things. For example, they can learn sports games. This dog clearly dreams of getting a career in baseball. It's dreaming of getting into the MLB. Now it's going to show what it can do. The pitcher throws the ball, and the dog hits it perfectly with the bat. Then it even ran to first base. Everything's according to the rules. All in all, it's ready to be signed to a professional club. In this footage, we see a man with a squirrel being filmed by his wife. As it turned out, their son brought home an injured squirrel, and they treated the rodent for several days. And now it's time to release the squirrel back into the wild. The man puts the squirrel on a tree so it can crawl away on its own wherever it needs to go. He sees the rodent off with strokes. In short, everything's great. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the cat of the family appears, jumps up and grabs the squirrel and then runs off with it. It was unexpected. But don't worry, as the family said, the cat didn't kill the squirrel. In our minds, rhinos seem to be very dangerous and aggressive animals. And in general, they are. But some people are not attacked by rhinos. For example, this girl. Look at this incredible footage. It's as if they've accepted her as part of their herd. The horned giants behave very calmly and feel comfortable with the girl, and she, in turn, gives them her warmth and care. Maybe in a past life she herself was a rhino. The connection between them is at the highest level. And here's another loving creature. The sea lion befriends the divers. It feels wonderful with them. It's like it's even kissing one of the divers. The sea lion doesn't want to leave the divers and continues to have a great time with them. But the congeners call. At the end of the day, the pinniped, though reluctantly, swims away to its relatives. Kitten and chicken. Before you watch the next video, I have to warn you. The cuteness level in this one exceeds all standards, so be warned. Here, the owner of these beautiful kittens decided to introduce the pets to another resident of their large and cozy home. First of all, this meeting was exciting for this kitten. It had just recently been born and no one had shown it the chicks. The little guy doesn't understand if these creatures are dangerous, how they move, what they eat, and what they're for in general. So the first time it was introduced to them through the glass, you never know what the cat's reaction will be. Realizing that the kitten is good with them, the owners decided that the fur ball could react with the chicks. Well, you can see for yourself what happened. The kitten really wanted to touch the chicks, to feel all their softness and harmlessness with its own paws. And in the end, it did. It finally made friends with them and got used to such nice company. Eagles. Everyone knows these birds as excellent hunters, uncompromising killers, and amazing flying creatures. They cope with all weather conditions and easily reach their goal, including their prey. But have you ever wondered what their first flight looks like? After all, eagles can't be so good at flying from birth. There's a video on the internet of a young eagle trying to fly in the skies for the first time. It was supervised by its mother, of course. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the weather was windy that day, and if at first the young eagle did everything quite easily, then somewhere in the middle of the flight, the situation became more uncontrollable. You must admit that all the effort that the feathered creature is currently making is felt even through the screen. It's trying hard to stay in the air, though sometimes it's difficult to do so, especially if you compare it holding in the air to that of its mother. It doesn't seem to have a single feather moving. In any case, for the first flight, it was a nice effort. The eagle spent a few minutes in the sky and not on the first try, but still managed to land on a thin and unstable branch. He was in shock. It must have been something the owner of the cat told her friends about what happened to her the day before. She was sitting in her house doing household chores when all of a sudden a bear came to visit her. The woman lives near a forest, so such visits are nothing new to her. Nevertheless, the woman's cat had never before met such a large animal, and I think his facial expression captures it perfectly. I think at this point the cat was thinking something like, "The hell is this? Are these creatures like this walking on the same planet as me? If so, don't let me out of the house anywhere, please." Who is he? Next, we have an equally funny reaction from another animal. This time it's a dog. She was lying in her house and people brought her a little puppy to get to know her. The puppy was very similar to her, which led to this reaction. Probably the dog at that moment thought to herself that she had no babies, so how in this case this sweet creature could come into this world? Whatever the case, it seems to me that such a reaction is the key to a good mood at home. The four-legged creatures will definitely become friends and there won't be any fighting between them. Honey is sweet, but the bee stings. And this video shows us how a little Labrador tasted a lemon for the first time in his life. Don't worry, animals have exactly the same reaction as most people. They feel the sour taste and can't swallow the yellow fruit in one go. Nevertheless, no matter how the dog was making that face from the sourness, he gladly ate the lemon and probably asked his owner for more after the video was shot. That's all, guys. Which reaction surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.